gentlemen, please remain standing as we thank the wonderful klezmer band for today's music. Only at JTS do we have such appropriate music for the day. Today is indeed a very special day for our institution as we gather here to celebrate the achievements of our graduates and our honorees. My name is Alan Levine, and I have the great honor and privilege to be chair of the Board of Trustees of the Jewish Theological Seminary. On behalf of my colleagues on the Board of Trustees, the administration, and the faculty, I am truly delighted to welcome you to the 123rd commencement exercises of the Jewish Theological Seminary. Now, please join in, don't just listen, as Mordechai Yonah Cantor and Stephen Zeidenberg, who will be invested as cantors in a ceremony this afternoon, lead us in the national anthems of the United States of America and Medinat Yisrael. Thank you.
Fire.
Thank you all. Please be seated. Now I call on Rabbi J. Kornsgold, spiritual leader of the Bethel Synagogue in East Windsor, New Jersey, to deliver the opening prayer. Rabbi Kornsgold was ordained by JTS in 1993, and today at this commencement, his son Noam will be awarded a Bachelor's of Arts degree. Rabbi Kornsgold.
Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, our God and God of our ancestors, we are grateful to you as we gather today to celebrate the 123rd commencement exercises of the Jewish Theological Seminary, an institution that has served our people and the world with distinction. Thank you to the administration and the faculty who continue to dedicate their lives to teaching Torah to their students so that they in turn will educate future generations. May they continue their sacred work in good health for many more years to come. Eternal God, we ask that you shower your blessings on the men and women who are graduating today. Endow them with vigor of body, mind, and spirit as they take the teachings of Torah that were learned at JTS and spread them to communities throughout the United States and the world. As they leave the hallowed halls of JTS, may their daily work be guided by the words of the prophet Micah, Asot mishpat, v'ahavat chesed, v'hatznei alechet im Elohecha. Do justly, love kindness, and walk humbly with your God, so that through their examples they will make a difference in the lives of all those who they come in contact with each day. On this special day, we ask you, Tzur Yisrael, Rock of Israel, to bless the families of the graduates who have supported them and been their anchors throughout their years of study. The pride that they feel today is written all over their smiling faces. As we gather in our synagogues this Shabbat and conclude the book of Vayikra, Leviticus, we will utter the words, Chazak, Chazak, v'nit chazek. Be strong, and let us strengthen one another. May our graduates remain strong and always be true to themselves and to the values that have been imparted to them at JTS. May they strengthen one another so that together they will work to make our troubled world a better place to live for all of God's children. V'chein yehi ratzon. So may it be your will. And let us say, Amen.
Rabbi Kornsgold, thank you for those moving words, and mazel tov on your son's graduation. Distinguished honorees, members of the JTS faculty, administration and board, representatives of the conservative movement, friends from the entire community, and Acharon Chaviv, our graduates and their families, friends and guests, I once again welcome you to this very special day of celebration. I would also like to welcome several members of our sister academic institutions who are joining us today. From Columbia University, Dean Peter Awn of the School of General Studies, and Dean of Students Tom Harford. From Barnard College, Dean Avis Hinson. Dean of Studies Natalie Friedman, and first-year Dean Rebecca Grabiner. And a special welcome to David Lobel from Governor Cuomo's office. Just last week, we celebrated the groundbreaking for JTS 21st Century Campus, And obviously, due to the construction which is now underway, this year's commencement is taking place here at Park Avenue Synagogue, which I am proud to say is my home congregation. We're grateful to Rabbi Elliot Cosgrove, my rabbi, the spiritual leader of Park Avenue Synagogue, and the synagogue's entire lay and professional leadership for their deep and abiding friendship and support of JTS, and we thank them for graciously hosting us for this ceremony. I now would like to call on my rabbi to come back to his bima and to say a few words.
It is the sweetest of honors to offer words of welcome on behalf of Park Avenue Synagogue. As host, as proud alum of JTS, as a spouse to a graduate of the Davidson School, as rabbi to JTS Chairman Alan Levine, as rabbi to past JTS Chairman, whom we recall with affection, Gershon Kekst of blessed memory, as proud employer of many JTS graduates, and most of all, as a rabbi who was ordained right here on this bima in the midst of another building project some years ago. Shalom, shalom, l'rachok v'lekarov. Greetings, greetings to those who have come from far and from near. Lest your off-site graduation be a source of any concern for present graduates, I can share the fact that my graduation, having taken place on the exotic Upper East Side, served neither as an impediment to the rest of my life, nor to my lifelong affection and commitment to my alma mater. The JTS Park Avenue relationship is a close one, and on behalf of the lay and professional leadership of the synagogue, we're humbled and honored to bask in your radiant glow of today's festivities. Every graduate present from every school of JTS shares today a sense of crossing a threshold from one life chapter to the next. No different than the Israelites of old in the calendar moment in which we find ourselves, a journey forth has commenced, and the odyssey into the Midbar, the wilderness, has begun. A sense of freedom and opportunity, perhaps even of liberty, and no doubt some anxiety and apprehensiveness of the future. It's a liminal moment, a passage from one stage to the next, a time of gratitude, of possibility, of creativity, and no doubt also ambiguity and perhaps even vulnerability. The outlines of Sinai, of the Promised Land, sit still in the distant horizon. As graduates poised to serve as rabbis, cantors, educators, scholars, and lay leaders in a Jewish community anxiously awaiting your contributions, today I offer the small thought that the very condition in which you find yourselves happens also to be the shared condition of North American Jewry as a whole. A celebration of liberty, of personal autonomy, the ability to give expression to our faith with unprecedented freedom, and a nervous search for meaning, for relevance, for direction, and belonging. You have been called on to serve a Jewish community which itself is wandering and wondering in their own midbar. You are the spiritual Sherpas, the bearers of our tradition, our Masoret, called on to lead by offering your distinct wisdom, presence, Torah, and guidance in this time of change. My prayer to the graduates present is that, like kissing a mezuzah as one enters a new room, so too may you be blessed with God's presence and protection as you cross this threshold today. May the friendships you have made remain strong into the years ahead. May your Torah remain fresh and ever renewed. May the skills you've developed and knowledge acquired at JTS redound to your benefit and that of your future communities. and may all your deeds be deserving of God's blessing. Mazel tov on all you have done. Mazel tov on today's celebrations, and mazel tov on a very bright future that awaits you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi Cosgrove, for your remarks. And once again, thank you for honoring us with your presence and permitting us to be here today. I have the privilege of serving as chair of this vibrant and vital institution. And I must say that presiding over these commencement exercises is a very enjoyable part of the year. Today, let me share with you, just from my vantage point, the special sense that I see in the room, that I take from the room. I can see the beaming smiles of parents and grandparents, the pride and love of the other family members and friends, and there is, of course, a visible sense of accomplishment and eagerness on the faces of the graduates themselves. What a wonderful view we all have from up here. But graduates, may I ask that on this day, which is special not just for you, but for everyone else here, that you turn to the others in the sanctuary and acknowledge their past support and commitment to your future with a very hearty round of applause. And before we continue with the awarding of the honorary degrees, as Rabbi Cosgrove just mentioned, we couldn't let this moment pass without acknowledging and noting that just 2 short months ago, our Gershon Kekst, Chairman Emeritus of the JTS Board of Trustees, and one of the most significant and beloved leaders in the history of our institution, passed away. Mr. Kekst's warm presence and wise counsel touched generations of JTS students, faculty, staff, alumni, lay leaders, board members who loved and respected him dearly. His extraordinary commitment to Jewish education, and JTS in particular, will be remembered in perpetuity with the 2015 naming of our Gershon Kekst Graduate School. His greatest legacy lies in the generation of JTS alumni now teaching and leading the Jewish world, along with the students of today and tomorrow, who, thanks to his vision and commitment, will create the vibrant Jewish communities of the future that were so important to him. He would sit right up in the middle of the sanctuary on the aisle, and we miss him. May his memory be for a blessing. Now I have the distinct pleasure of introducing the Chancellor of the Jewish Theological Seminary and President of its faculties, Professor Arnold M. Eisen, who will preside over the next portion of the program. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Eisen.
Thanks, Alan. It's now my privilege to welcome you, trustees, faculty, administrators of JTS, family and friends of our graduates, leaders of our movement, partners at Columbia and Barnard, and let me say a special welcome to my old friend and colleague, Peter Awn, who is stepping down after 20 years of service. And of course, the graduates of the Rabbinical School, of the H.O. Miller Cantorial School, of the William Davidson Graduate School of Education, of the Gershon Kekst Graduate School, and of List College. Welcome to all of you. Hope your enthusiasm is not tempered by the fact of being in a sanctuary instead of a tent. List College, we need you to be boisterous as usual, otherwise you won't recognize this graduation ceremony. Thank you. It's now my privilege to confer the honorary degrees, a tradition that began at JTS in 1904. Those receiving honorary degrees today join a distinguished list of scientists, artists, and scholars, public servants, and leaders of the Jewish community. In awarding these degrees, which have been approved by the JTS Board of Trustees, JTS acknowledges the teaching of Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel and Pirkei Avot, Lo hamidrash hu ha'ikar, ela ha'maseh, not study but deeds are truly essential. JTS honors these individuals for their outstanding accomplishments as well as their exemplary learning. And now it is my pleasure to invite Mr. Charles Bronfman to the podium. He will be sponsored by Mrs. Dorothy Tapper Goldman, a member of the JTS Board and chair of the JTS Library Advisory Board, and by Mark Gary, Esquire, Executive Vice Chancellor and Chief Operating Officer of JTS. Charles Bronfman, in a life defined by philanthropy, you have made enormous contributions to a staggering array of causes. Your generosity reflects a profound sense of social responsibility. An outstanding businessman, you have never wavered from your commitment to the good of the Jewish people and indeed the world. As chair of the Andrea and Charles Bronfman Foundation, you, along with your late wife Andrea, launched 24 major programs and supported hundreds more in Israel, the US, and your native Canada. As visionary co-founder and current co-chair of Taglit Birthright, one of the most successful Jewish organizational projects in recent memory, you have touched thousands and thousands of Jewish lives. Thanks to your initiative, over 550,000 young Jewish adults have participated in an educational trip and a life-changing trip to Israel. Your current Karev in Israel, Karev Foundation, provided after-school enrichment for Israeli children from low-income families for 25 years. You've also strengthened Canadian national identity through Historica Canada and other organizations. Your lifelong dedication to encouraging young people to appreciate their history and heritage will be felt for generations to come. And therefore, acting on behalf of the Board of Trustees, it is my honor and privilege to confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa. It is now my pleasure to invite my colleague, Professor Judith Hauptman, to the podium. She will be sponsored by Mrs. Carol Simon, a member of the JTS Board and president of the Women's League for Conservative Judaism, and by Dr. Marjorie Lehman, Associate Professor of Talmud and Rabbinics at JTS. Bell. Judith Hauptman, through your groundbreaking career as a scholar and teacher of Talmud, beloved by students and colleagues alike, you have guided generations of students in appreciating the elegance and wisdom of the rabbinic tradition. Your commitment to serving the wider Jewish community has also enriched the lives of thousands. As the E. Billy Ivry Professor of Talmud and Rabbinic Culture at JTS, your research focuses on unraveling the mystery of how the Talmud came into being and on investigating women's hitherto unappreciated role in the thought and practice of Judaism. Your masterful works, including development of the Talmudic Sugya and rereading the rabbis, A Woman's Voice, have opened our eyes to new insights about both the evolution of the Talmud and the role of women in rabbinic society. You established Ohel Ayala with the goal of keeping young people connected to the Jewish community in the years after college. Your free walk-in high holiday services and Passover Seders have drawn hundreds of attendees each year. Through your passion for Jewish learning, you have strengthened the Jewish community both inside the walls of the academy and out, and you have immeasurably strengthened and enriched JTS. Therefore, acting on behalf of the Board of Trustees, it is my honor and privilege to confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Hebrew Letters, honoris causa. It is now my pleasure to invite Dr. Daniel C. Matt to the podium. He will be sponsored by Daniel Beller, Esquire, a Vice Chair of the JTS Board of Trustees, and by Dr. Eitan Fishbane, Associate Professor of Jewish Thought at JTS. Daniel C. Matt, as one of the world's foremost authorities of Jewish mysticism, you have worked ceaselessly in the service of scholarship. At the same time as your research, writing, and teaching have brought a deeper understanding of Kabbalah to vast and varied audiences. The son and the grandson of rabbis ordained at JTS, you have held positions as Professor of Jewish Studies at the Graduate Theological Union in Berkeley and at other prominent institutions. Your career has been defined and Jewish life immensely enriched by your exploration of the Zohar. You have devoted 18 years to the monumental undertaking of translating and commentary on that corpus, producing the award-winning The Zohar Pritzker edition, the first scholarly English translation with line-by-line commentary made from a critical Aramaic text. You have harnessed the imaginative power of the Zohar, conveyed its strangeness, potency, and rich ambiguity, and elucidated the work's complexities, thereby opening its beauty and wisdom to scholars and lay readers the world over. Your remarkable academic achievements have erected a lasting monument to the field of Jewish studies. Acting on behalf of the Board of Trustees, it is my honor and privilege to confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Hebrew Letters, honoris causa. It is now my pleasure to invite Dr. Jonathan Woocher to the podium. He will be sponsored by Mrs. Diane Wall, a member of the JTS board, and by Dr. Barry Holtz, Theodore and Florence Baum-Ritter Professor of Jewish Education at the Davidson School at JTS. Jonathan Woocher, an insightful teacher and researcher, you have creatively reimagined the nature of Jewish education in North America and helped train the future leaders and innovators of Klal Yisrael. You are currently Senior Fellow at Lippman Cantor Foundation for Living Torah, which promotes the use of Jewish wisdom and sensibilities in shaping better lives and a better world. Previously, you served as President and CEO and then as Chief Ideas Officer of the Jewish Education Service of North America, JESNA. Earlier, you were Associate Professor in the Benjamin S. Hornstein Program in Jewish Communal Service at Brandeis University. You've also been active on many boards, including the Advisory Board of JTS's William Davidson Graduate School of Jewish Education, and with me, on the board of the Covenant Foundation, which you helped found. In all, you have been deeply involved in Jewish communal service for more than 40 years. Your dynamic work and consistently wise counsel have strengthened the ability of a multitude of organizations to provide meaning, inspiration, and engagement to North American Jews. Throughout your distinguished career, you've played a signal role in building the Jewish community. Therefore, acting on behalf of the Board of Trustees, it is my honor and privilege to confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa. We extend our warmest congratulations to each of the distinguished new honorary alumni. And now it's my privilege to address our graduates at a ceremony that's, of course, distinguished from those in recent memory by a return to Park Avenue Synagogue, the site of many JTS commencements past, because the JTS courtyard will soon be filled with the joyful strains of jackhammers and drills. We are building and redesigning our campus, adding a new library, a new residence hall, auditorium, performance space, conference facilities, and indoor light court, in keeping with the significant alterations in mission, curriculum, student body, faculty, public program, internet presence, and management structure already well underway at JTS. Constructing a renewed campus is one more reminder that you, this year's graduates, are entering a world in which virtually every institution and industry is undergoing rapid and significant change, and in which those that do not change, or do not change quickly enough or wisely enough, have diminished chances of success or even survival. Last year at commencement, I said, with no particular prescience, that, quote, "The future of our country seems to hang in the balance these days, and perhaps the future of our planet," unquote. A year later, I think we all know that this is the case. Brexit is underway in Europe, Donald Trump is president of the United States, and more improbably, lahavdil, the Cubs have won a World Series. Not being a prophet, or the son of a prophet, I will not venture any prediction today on what we can expect to see between now and next year's commencement, let alone by the time of the JTS graduation exercises in 2022. But I cannot not devote my remarks this morning to reflecting with you, our graduates, soon to be professional and lay leaders in the Jewish community, and some of you already professional or lay leaders in the Jewish community, and in many other areas of society as well, on what this change means for Judaism, and what it means for leaders who seek and offer guidance from Jewish history and tradition in conditions that are truly unforeseen and unprecedented. I begin with a poem by Yehuda Amichai, Adam B'Chayav, that in a typical Amichai gesture of cliche-busting sobriety, insists there is not a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to kill, and a time to heal, or the example most relevant to my life these days, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. There is never enough time to do the things we want and need to do, Amichai protests. And the time we do have is rarely divided neatly into distinct tasks or emotions. Ecclesiastes was wrong about that, Amichai writes. Kohelet lo tzadak kishe'amar kach. I believe that Kohelet got at least two other important things wrong, both of them directly relevant to the future I want to contemplate with you. First, there are many new things under the sun, in part because we earthlings now have some understanding of what lies beyond the sun and inside the DNA that shapes brains, enabling us to probe the human body, the universe, and everything else. What is more, I am staking my life, and you are probably staking yours, on the fundamental conviction that all is not hevel, vanity, and wind. What you and I do during our brief years on this insignificant planet, circling a minor sun in an out-of-the-way galaxy, matters enormously. I know this because the Torah tells me so. 3,000 years of Jewish history, tradition, law, and wisdom have all been founded on the conviction that human beings and the world matter enormously, must be better than they are, and can be better. That legacy helps to guide modern Jews like us through the uncharted wilderness of contemporary existence and through the more settled parts of experience too. JTS stakes its institutional future on the conviction that the Torah, studied diligently, with every tool that science, art, and broad human experience can bring to the task, provides life skills useful to everyone at any time, and does so especially to Jewish leaders, charged like you with showing the way forward in a difficult time like this one. There are qualities of humanness in the image of God, we believe. There is a depth of character nurtured by Torah that no revolution in artificial intelligence will ever transmit to machines. There are covenants with other human beings and with God that cannot be implanted in or deleted from the species by means of genome editing. I mentioned those two recent breakthroughs, highly publicized this past year, because I suspect that they, along with global warming, will prove more consequential to Judaism and to us in coming decades than the development of household robots or driverless cars, or the testing of democratic institutions that we may be witnessing in America these days, or the all too familiar sufferings of hundreds of millions around the globe and here at home from poverty, disease, enslavement, and injustice. Our moral agenda is as crowded in 2017 as it has ever been, and it will soon be rendered more complicated rather than less by the fact that ever more sophisticated computers will be performing complex jobs that you, today's graduates, might otherwise have held. Genome editing will render you and your children immune to all sorts of diseases that currently plague humanity, and will give you the chance to add what are euphemistically called genetic enhancements to your descendants at will. The very same technology the scientists fear will expose entire populations to genetic assaults far more dangerous than this week's hacking or Russian interference in last fall's election. Technology, in other words, will as always prove a blessing as well as a curse. What seems new in recent years is the sheer speed and magnitude of the change, which hurtle forward far beyond the capacity of our moral intuitions or of ethical traditions such as Judaism to keep pace. So how does one navigate dilemmas like these, or assume the other responsibilities that lay in professional leadership entails in such a time? I have no easy answers for you today. This is JTS after all, where complexity is prized because we believe that easy responses cannot possibly be adequate to the complex truths of history, of texts, or of everyday life. Simple answers help no one, though they may get you elected president. I want to offer 3 brief pieces of advice from Jewish tradition that I think are helpful guides to action and leadership in a time like ours. All 3 seem particularly relevant to graduates wondering how and if what they have learned over the past few years of study can possibly prepare them for the enormity of what lies in store. Lesson number 1, fear is never a good basis for leadership and rarely a good partner to thought. Anxiety or outright fear about the future is generally held to have played a major role in the recent American election. Such anxiety is, by all accounts, widespread. I heard an Intel commercial on the radio the other day, presumably market tested for impact, that said Intel is embracing the future with confidence, unlike so many people nowadays who regard the future with fear. Fear has always been prevalent in the world. It is quite commonplace today. I fear that many are living and acting on fear right now. Af al pi chen, nevertheless, we meet 2 weeks before the 50th anniversary of the Six-Day War, with Jewish conversation understandably full of reflection about lessons learned and not learned from that event and from the Yom Kippur War that so quickly followed after it. One of the most important lessons that I learned from these events came with my arrival to do graduate work at Hebrew University in 1975. The country, and pretty much everyone else I met, were still recovering from the shock, loss, and trauma of the Yom Kippur War. But the striking thing was that no one I met was despairing, or hunkering down to await the next assault, or recommending a life strategy of carpe diem in the face of all that travail. Every Israeli I met seemed to have very strong convictions on how peace and security could be achieved, and none doubted that peace and security would be achieved someday. Yet tov, they insisted, things would be okay. I believe there is a lesson in this for all Jews who seek to follow the fundamental commandment of the Torah, to be holy, kedoshim tiyu, after encounter with tragedy and death, acharei mot. Where once I laughed at the ready Israeli response to all questions, yeh tov, yeh beseder, yistader, I now believe this attitude is profound, a vital expression of the life force, and an attitude that every Jewish leader should cultivate. Things will work out. They will be okay. And if not, we will deal with the situation. We can't let fear paralyze our action or distort our judgment. V'hayikar, hu lo lefached klal. The main point is do not be afraid. I cringe when I hear politicians in Israel or America recommending fear as the basis of domestic or foreign policy. We can't live this way, you and I. Certainly not in a time of massive change. Jews like us cannot lead this way. We are commanded to choose life, blessing, and good. In the face of suffering, Torah instructs us, be compassionate. In response to injustice, practice justice. And like the sages of old, we know that one has to study the world carefully in order to help it choose life. Jews draw courage at a time of widespread fear from the knowledge that we are walking a way that sustained our ancestors through dark times and will surely sustain us in a time of such immense blessing. Lesson number 2, personal integrity is the key to leadership. In my first few years as Chancellor of JTS, I spoke privately and publicly to leaders in many fields, including political leaders from both major parties. To a person, they all said to me that the crucial prerequisite of leadership is not charisma or managerial ability or luck, but personal integrity. I used to wonder if that was really the case. No more. Think about it. How can people be expected to stand with you and stand behind you if they do not know where you stand? How can they trust you if they don't know who you are? How will you know what to do when decision is needed urgently? Time for reflection is short, and you can't stop to test the waters or poll the various constituencies. How will you do that if you don't have deeply held convictions to help guide you and to help guide them? This truth holds even in normal times. And in times of rapid, dramatic change like ours, you need people not only to follow you when you lead and to walk beside you, but to go out ahead of you to places where your community and your tradition need to go, but which you could not imagine. They can only do that confidently that they are furthering the path on which you and they are moving if you have held to and transmitted a firm sense of direction all along. They need to trust you, and you need to trust them. The Midrash says that God walked with Noah, but God said to Abraham, "Go and walk before me." Jewish leaders are not merely leaders who are Jews, or Jews who lead Jewish agencies and organizations. Jewish leaders know where we come from as a people, and the tradition, and where we need to be going. They feel responsible to the ancestors who preceded us on the path, and to the descendants who will follow. They know the weight of speaking in the name of Judaism, always proudly, and sometimes with appropriate fear and trembling, as they cry out when they see injustice, as they point out the difference between holy and profane, right and wrong. To be clear, I don't think it's the job of Jewish communal leaders and teachers of Torah to become political operatives who campaign for this or that candidate or party or bill. Blurring the boundary between politics and religion will not be good for America, as it has not been good for Israel. But there are moments when a Jewish leader must speak out because personal integrity and the integrity of Torah are at stake. There's a reason why the Torah has so much to say so often about pursuing justice and taking care of the needy and protecting the stranger. And we know that every blessing of God that we utter as Jews carries with it the responsibility to help that blessing come to pass. We know, too, that we will sometimes fail in this attempt. These are life lessons that Watson will never learn, no matter how good it is at playing Jeopardy. But the Jewish leaders must and will learn the hard way as you defend deeply held convictions and faith and put personal integrity on the line. Lesson number 3, you can't go it alone and you don't have to. You need a community beside you, allies from other communities who will stand with you, friends and partners who are different from you and love you in that very difference. And you will have these too, thank God. I want to share 2 opinion pieces from recent weeks that touch on this point powerfully. The first is the speech given by Israeli President Reuven Rivlin on Yom HaShoah, in which he called upon Jews never to believe that we're alone in the world, never to make the Holocaust, quote, the lens through which we view the world. We must not forget the Shoah, President Rivlin declared. Jews must and will defend ourselves. But we must also remember that as Pirkei Avot avers, beloved is man, for he was created in the image of God. This, the President affirms, quote, is the most Jewish, humane, and fundamental truth, a sacred obligation that the Jewish people cannot and does not wish to evade. A similar message comes through, loud and clear, in Senator John McCain's call last week for a foreign policy that prioritizes human rights, not as idealist alternative to realism, but because, quote, in the real world, as lived and experienced by real people, the demand for human rights and dignity, the longing for liberty and justice and opportunity, the hatred of oppression and corruption and cruelty, this is reality. By denying this experience, he said, we deny the aspirations of billions of people and invite their enduring resentment. Proclaim liberty throughout the land, this week's Torah portion commands, to all the inhabitants thereof, and perhaps this year we should read that word haaretz in the verse, not just as the land, but as the earth. It's also striking that Senator McCain drew inspiration from Natan Sharansky's courage as a refusenik in the Soviet Gulag and derived strength and hope as a POW in Vietnam from the news of Ronald Reagan's defense of human rights. The point is that trust in other people and other peoples, communicated across continents or across a dinner table, empowers resistance, sustains courage, and eases loneliness. That trust in Ezer Kenegdo to assist us is urgently important today, not only on the world stage or the national stage, but in the intimacy of personal relations. Americans apparently feel more alone in recent years than ever before. One reason that Jewish institutions thrive when they nourish the sense of community and offer individuals the sort of true face-to-face community that is still needed, despite far-flung networks and virtual communities that have sprung up in recent years. Thanks to Facebook, we can all friend people in new ways for a wide range of purposes, some of them noble and life-saving. At the same time, however, the number of good friends Americans report having continues to decline, and the number of college students who feel that, quote, things are hopeless, continues to grow. 34% of students on a recent national survey said that sometime in the past 12 months they had, quote, felt so depressed that it was difficult to function. 57% said they had, quote, felt overwhelming anxiety. Students' self-reported mental health dropped to 50% last year, its lowest level ever. Mental health experts agree that we need to counter such feelings with real, tangible, caring community. When students in a JTS classroom disagree respectfully over the meaning of a piece of text or history, or listen intently and patiently to accounts of one another's deeply held beliefs and inmost human experiences, they create precious moments of community and offer quiet testimony that each of us does not face the world alone. And when hundreds of us from JTS marched through Harlem just before Passover with colleagues from neighboring institutions and organizations, Jews, Christians, and Muslims, whites, blacks, and Latinos, we realized and testified that our community too does not stand alone. We stand together. The Talmud spends a lot more time debating the path to the creation of just and compassionate communities than it does trying to figure out the nature of God. So will you too, I predict, our future leaders, in your capacity in leading the Jewish community and taking it forward. Well, I conclude by saying that we need you, class of 2017. We, the graduates of 30, 40, and 50 years ago, rely on you to prove our path worthwhile, to prove Judaism wise through your life testing of our shared convictions. We need you to try not to be afraid, to remember who you are as a Jewish human being and act in accord with the integrity of who you are. And we need you to build community wherever you go, including and engaging Jews and others who for too long have stood outside the gate. The Jewish philosopher Franz Rosenzweig commented a century ago on an amazing fact of life that keeps all of us going at difficult moments, and I hope will sustain you in coming years. The world is often a swamp, he said. We all seem at times to be sinking in its mire like quicksand. But miracle of miracles, we survive and thrive because we hold each other up, we keep one another from sinking, we raise one another high. May it be true for you for many years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chancellor, for those wise and powerful words. I now have the privilege of calling on the chorus of the H.L. Miller Cantorial School, directed by Chazan Natasha J. Hirschhorn, accompanied by Ms. Elizabeth Rogers, both members of the Miller Cantorial School faculty. The chorus will perform Va'anachnu Nivarech Yah, let us praise God forever and ever. The composer is Cantor Lance Rhodes, who was invested as a cantor by the Miller School in 2009. Chazan Hirschhorn.
Hallelujah.
Thank you, Chazan Hirschhorn, Ms. Rogers, members of the chorus. Indeed, let us praise God forever and ever. And you've enriched this ceremony with your beautiful music. Before we confer the degrees in course, I would like to call your attention to the commencement program, where you will find the listing of prizes that have been awarded to the students of our 5 schools. We congratulate all those who have been so honored. At this point in today's celebration dedicated to the achievements of our students, I also would like to recognize and thank publicly 3 members of our distinguished faculty who have contributed immensely to our student success over a span of decades and who are now stepping down from formal classroom teaching. Professor Judith Hauptman, E. Billy Ivry, Professor of Talmud and Rabbinic Culture, you already have heard about her marvelous achievements in the citation that was read in connection with her receiving the honorary degree. Yishar Kochei. And I'd like to say a word about my 2 other colleagues who are also concluding their full-time appointments in classroom teaching. First, Professor Neil Danzig, Professor of Talmud and Rabbinics and Gaonic Literature, who has served on the JTS faculty for 22 years. I became acquainted with Professor Danzig when I worked with him on his magisterial catalog of Geniza fragments of rabbinic literature that are found in the JTS library. And you have not experienced anything until you've seen a person look at a tiny little fragment that has 3 or 4 words on it and say, oh yes, that comes from tractate so-and-so. Or, oh yes, that's from a letter by this medieval sage. Or even more astonishing, that doesn't come from anywhere. So, Professor Danzig, I wish you Godspeed, Yishar Kochacha. And my other colleague, Professor Stephen Geller. Professor Stephen Geller, Irma Cameron Milstein Professor of Bible and Ancient Semitic Languages, who has served on the JTS faculty for 45 years. I've known Steve, and he's been my friend for pretty much all of that time. And I could tell you stories, so contact me privately. But in truth, there's only one thing that you need to say about Professor Stephen Geller. When someone asks me, have you ever known a genius in your life? I don't mean smart people. Everyone in this room is smart. I mean a genius. I can say, yes, I knew Stephen Geller. Enough said. Steve, Godspeed. We recognize the multitude of courses and students that my colleagues have taught during the many years that they have labored at JTS. They have helped train a myriad of clergy, educators, lay leaders, and scholars, and have helped shape the face of Jewish communities and the Academy throughout North America and worldwide, through their students, colleagues, and all of us. We are in your debt, and we pray that you have the strength and passion to continue serving the community for many years to come. Yishar Kochach. At this time, I'm also pleased to note that in your program you can find a listing of the JTS class of 1967. It's the year I graduated from high school. Celebrating its 50th anniversary. We congratulate the members of the class on reaching this major milestone. And now it's my privilege and pleasure to ask those esteemed alumni from the class of 1967 who are here with us today to please rise and remain standing. And now we invite all of our esteemed alumni from all classes who are present today to please rise and remain standing. All of our alumni, please. Thank you for being here. We love you. You're so important to us. You're our ambassadors. You bring your learning with you throughout your professional and personal lives, bringing the life of Torah into our communities, making important contributions as leaders in a wide variety of fields. We applaud you and the many ways you have enhanced and continue to enhance the Jewish and general communities. Now I'd like to call to the podium Chazan Henry Rosenblum, Chazan of the Forest Hills Jewish Center in Queens, New York, who was invested as a cantor by JTS in 1972. This is an especially proud day for Chazan Rosenblum because his daughter, Shira, will receive her MA during this ceremony and will be ordained as a rabbi later today. Chazan Rosenblum.
I now ask the parents and grandparents, husbands, wives, partners, and children of our graduates to please rise and remain standing. We recognize and appreciate the essential role that you have played in making this day possible, and we rejoice with you as you witness the fulfillment of long-standing hopes and dreams. Let us together recite the bracha that marks all such occasions in our lives, the Shechianu. First in English, and then we will all sing it together. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, who rules the universe, granting us life, sustaining us, and enabling us to reach this most joyous occasion. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Everyone. Amen. Amen. Mazal tov. You may be seated.
Chazan Rosenblum, allow me to offer warm, personal congratulations on Shira's graduation and ordination today. Now, in my capacity as Provost, Chief Academic Officer of the Jewish Theological Seminary, in the name of the faculty and the Board of Trustees, it's my honor to join with Chancellor Eisen in conferring the degrees in course. These degrees are conferred by the Chancellor by the authority vested in the JTS Board of Trustees by the Board of Regents of the University of the State of New York. Many universities confer degrees by asking each class to stand in unison, but at JTS we have a long-standing tradition of calling the graduating students up to the podium individually in recognition of the hard work and dedication that has brought them to this moment. While the names of candidates who could not attend appear in the commencement program, they will, with one exception that you'll learn about in a moment, not be called. In keeping with our custom, I respectfully ask that you withhold your applause until all the degrees in each group have been conferred. Mr. Chancellor, I now call Dr. Shuli Rubin Schwartz, Walter and Sarah Schlesinger Dean of Graduate and Undergraduate Studies. Dr. Schwartz will present to you candidates for degrees in the Gershon Kekst Graduate School.
Thank you, Dr. Cooper. Mr. Chancellor, the Gershon Kekst Graduate School, which is composed of a brilliant and talented group of students dedicated to academic Jewish studies at the highest levels, awards the degrees of Doctor of Philosophy, Doctor of Hebrew Literature, Master of Philosophy, and Master of Arts. We'll begin with the conferral of doctoral degrees. The candidates have completed the due and appropriate satisfaction all of the required academic programs and examinations which qualify them for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in the Gershon Kekst Graduate School of JTS. And they have as their sponsor a member of the faculty who has helped guide the students' studies and research. I now turn to you, Provost Cooper, to introduce your student, Xinyi Zhao.
Thank you. This is the exception I mentioned earlier. But Xinyi has a good excuse for not being here. She lives in Auckland, New Zealand, and it takes longer to get from Auckland to New York than it does to get from New Jersey to Penn Station. I want to say a word about Xinyi because she's an extraordinary human being. She grew up in a re-education camp in China during the Cultural Revolution, where the only book that her family possessed was a Chinese translation of the Bible that she thought, and her family thought, was a work of classical Chinese literature. At some point, she found out differently. And then she made her way to Israel, where she learned Hebrew. And from Israel, she came to the Jewish Theological Seminary, where she has both mastered biblical studies and also converted to Judaism, and she now goes by the name Ruth Zhao, in addition to her Chinese name, Xinyi. A remarkable human being, and I hope she's watching because I want to wish her a hearty Mazal Tov. Her dissertation was entitled The Wounded and Traumatized in Lamentations, a Psychological Reading and a Cross-Textual Study with a Classical Chinese Lament. Thank you.
I now call upon Dr. Edna Nachshon, Professor of Jewish Theater and Drama, to present Stephanie M. Halper.
This is so exciting, I'm going to read it. I don't want to miss it. Mr. Chancellor, I have the honor of presenting Stephanie M. Halpern, candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in course. She has successfully defended with distinction an original dissertation entitled Crossing Over from the Yiddish Rialto to the American Stage.
Stephanie M. Halpern, upon recommendation of the faculty which recognizes your scholarly accomplishments, and on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, which you have earned in course. We congratulate you on your achievement. Mazal Tov.
Mr. Chancellor, I now present the candidates who have satisfactorily fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Master of Arts in the Gershon Kekst Graduate School of JTS. I invite the candidates to rise and come forward to the platform as I call their names and remain standing when they return to their seats. Mitchell Howard Berkowitz. Martin J. Flashner. Philip William Gibbs. Philip Burt McDowell. Bronwyn Amelia Mullen. Pamela Ann Nadler Emmerich. Andrew E. Nagel. Paula Barry Rose. Alexandra Carmel Ross. Nomi Presby Schneck. Rachel Smith. Adam Segoria Moffett. Emily Kenny Barton. Jody Gloria Goldberg.
Thank you, Dean Schwartz. Candidates for the degree of Master of Arts. You have completed the prescribed course of instruction and have fulfilled the language, research, and other requirements of the Gershon Kekst Graduate School of JTS. In recognition of these accomplishments and acting upon the recommendation of the faculty and on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I confer upon each of you the degree of Master of Arts, which you have earned in course, and welcome you to the company of scholars. Mazal tov. Our new alumni may be seated.
Maybe there's going to be an IPO for the Company of Scholars soon. At this time, it's my honor to call upon Dr. Bill Robinson, Dean of the William Davidson Graduate School of Jewish Education, to present the candidates for the degrees in that school. Dean Robinson.
Thank you, Dr. Cooper. The William Davidson Graduate School of Jewish Education awards the degrees of Doctor of Education and Master of Arts. We will now begin with the conferral of the doctoral degrees. Each of the following candidates has completed with due and appropriate satisfaction all the required academic programs and examinations which qualify him and her for the degree of Doctor of Education in the William Davidson Graduate School of Jewish Education. And each has his and her sponsor, a member of the faculty who has helped guide the students' studies and research. I now call upon Dr. Aria Davidson, Assistant Professor of Jewish Education, to present Edward Martin Feinstein.
Mr. Chancellor, I have the honor of presenting Edward Martin Feinstein, candidate for the degree of Doctor of Education in course. He has successfully defended an original dissertation entitled Rabbi Harold M. Schulweis and the Reinvention of the American Rabbi.
Once again, call upon Dr. Aria Davidson now to present Andrea Susan Meisels.
Chancellor, I now have the honor of presenting Andrea Susan Meisler, candidate for the degree of Doctor of Education in course. She has successfully defended an original dissertation entitled, "You Say Aggressive, I Say Assertive." The intercultural experience of Israeli shlichim at an American Jewish Synagogue.
Candidates for the degree of Doctor of Education, upon recommendation of the faculty, which recognizes your scholarly accomplishments, and on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I confer upon each of you the degree of Doctor of Education which you have earned in course. We congratulate you upon your achievement. Mazal tov.
Mr. Chancellor, I am now privileged to present the candidates who have satisfactorily fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Master of Arts in the William Davidson Graduate School of Jewish Education. I invite the candidates to rise and come forward to the platform as I call their names and ask that they remain standing when they return to their seats. Simeon Lev Cohen. Stephanie Cheryl Fields. Ilana Michelle Goldberg. Jody Gloria Goldberg. Joshua Hooper. Gabriel Nachman Kretzner Seed. Oren Ross Krublit. Julia Alexandra Lustig. Andrew David Markowitz. Max Ruvain Nissen. Amanda Fallon Phillips. Shira Michal Ticker Rosenblum. Elizabeth Suzanne Singer. Neil Andrew Toe. Ruth Weiss. Ryan Philip Wexler. Rachel Smith. Summer Taryn Greenwald Ganella. Sarah Esther Levine. And Isaac Kurt Schieber Yeager.
Thank you, Dean Robinson. Candidates for the degree of Master of Arts. You have completed the prescribed course of instruction and have fulfilled the language, research, and other requirements of the William Davidson Graduate School of Jewish Education. You are well aware of the sacred nature of your vocation. Your energy, learning, and talent bode well for the future of the Jewish people and the teaching of Torah and the thriving of the human spirit. In recognition of your accomplishments and acting upon the recommendation of the faculty and on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I confer upon each of you the degree of Master of Arts, which you have earned in course, and welcome you to the field of Jewish education. There's also
Is there anybody left? At this time, I once again call upon Dean Shuli Rubin Schwartz to present the candidates for degrees in JTS's undergraduate school.
Thank you, Dr. Cooper. Mr. Chancellor, it is now my privilege to present the academically accomplished, kind, creative, socially conscious, and utterly irrepressible candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts in the Albert A. List College of Jewish Studies. As I call their names, I invite them to come forward and to remain standing upon their return. Adi Riker Aluf, summa cum laude. Amram David Altsman, magna cum laude with honors. Donna Sarah Ascari, magna cum laude. Shira Aviva Becker, magna cum laude. Gabriela Ayala Bernat Cunin. Charles Harrison Blumsack, magna cum laude. Hannah Brody, summa cum laude. David Avery Cohen, magna cum laude. Akiva Chaim Dahlin, magna cum laude. Corey Alexander Freeman, summa cum laude. Stephanie Sarah Freeman. Leora Sarah Herman, cum laude. Corey Benjamin Hirsch, magna cum laude. Ruth Beatrice Hollander, cum laude. Maya Louise Hunt, magna cum laude. Braden Michael Harris Katzman, cum laude. Daniela Kogan, cum laude with honors. Noam Ezra Kornsgold, summa cum laude with honors. Brett Jordan Krasner, cum laude. Max Gabriel Reddy, cum laude. Haley Richelson. Haviva Shoshana Sands. Samuel E. Schachter, cum laude. Betty Soibel. Victoria Jane Semple, summa cum laude. Danielle Alyssa Truglio, cum laude. Liza Naomi Woberg, magna cum laude.
Thank you, Dean Schwartz. Members of the List College graduating class of 2017. The degree you receive today represents a double achievement in humanities studies. Not only have you completed the rigors of your undergraduate course of study, but you've amassed a minimum of 60 liberal arts credits and often more than that. Yes. You accomplished this in either our joint program with Columbia University or our double degree program with Barnard College. I guess Columbia's not here. For which you received an additional Bachelor of Arts degree at the Columbia graduation. The faculty, therefore, takes special pride in recognizing your accomplishment. It's now my privilege, members of the undergraduate class of 2017, acting upon the recommendation of the faculty, which recognizes your successful completion of the course of study in the Albert A. List College of Jewish Studies, and on behalf of the Board of Trustees, to confer upon each of you the degree of Bachelor of Arts, which you have earned in course. We congratulate you on your hard-won achievement. Mazal tov.
I now call upon Adi Reicher Aluf to speak on behalf of the List College graduates.
Chancellor Eisen, Chairman of the Board Levine, Provost Cooper, distinguished honorees, Dean Schwartz, beloved faculty, family, friends, fellow graduates. Our college experience has been one of immersion, of constant, relentless, physical proximity and contact. We were squished and embraced in the same spaces and places, which allowed for spontaneity and intimacy, which intensified learning and friendship. In this environment, work and study time, social engagements and moments alone at home collapsed into one. We taught one another and we learned from one another over a massive slice of pizza at 3 a.m. and over a mediocre iced olive tree coffee at 8:40 a.m. We prayed together and we partied together. Together, we were challenged to stretch our thinking, to open our eyes to new worlds and new possibilities. Though we attended two schools, our learning was not necessarily siloed into the religious and the secular. We constantly found connections between scientific logic and that of a Talmudic sugya, between our Jewish political thought courses and our political science majors. We were blessed with unbelievable professors who doubled as mentors and role models. We all shared a List College experience, but no two were the same. Different challenges and different simchas painted each of our time here. Together, we sat on student councils at all three schools. We were in marching band and in Greek life. We had internships and fellowships and jobs. We fell in love with whole areas of study. We got engaged. We came out of the closet. We each had whole worlds here, but we all made an appearance in each other's. We were entangled in a social, academic, spiritual web. In Exodus, God tells the Israelites, "Build me a sanctuary so that I may dwell among you." Physical space fortifies community, but physical space never contains God. God dwells among people, among relationships cultivated within temple walls and within campus gates. There is a way to be close that does not revolve around this awesome physical proximity of JTS within Columbia and Barnard within New York City. Friendships and discoveries and passions transcend dorm rooms and classrooms and however many semesters of time. We will be bound by the collective memory of these years. We have grown up here together, and we leave with the tools, knowledge, and experience to lead and be a part of communities of closeness in the future. Because community imbues life with meaning and intimacy and deep friendship, it fortifies us to achieve our dreams and sets us up to be the change makers that the world we live in demands us to be. It is my blessing for us, class of 2017, that as we embark on our upcoming adventures, we find places and communities and relationships and books and spiritual practices and careers and other good slices of massive pizza that draw us in and that bring us close. And it is my blessing for us that we continue to feel close to each other and to share community across time and space. Class of 2017, my heart is so full. I love you, and I am so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you for your beautiful words, Ms. Aluf, and congratulations. I now call on the Dean of the Division of Religious Leadership and Pearl Resnick Dean of the Rabbinical School, Rabbi Daniel S. Nevins, and the Director of the H.L. Miller Cantorial School and College of Jewish Music, Cantor Nancy Abramson, to present the degree candidates in the Cantorial School.
Thank you, Dr. Cooper. Mr. Chancellor, at a ceremony this afternoon, the H.L. Miller Cantorial School and College of Jewish Music will invest 6 graduates as chazanim. These students have also successfully completed the requirements for the degree of Master of Sacred Music in this school, and my colleague, Cantor Nancy Abramson, will now present them to you for these degrees.
I invite the wonderfully tuneful candidates to rise and come forward to the platform as I call their names. Summer Taryn Greenwald Ganella. Malachi Yona Canfer. Sarah Esther Levine. Jennifer Rachel Rolnick. Isaac Kurt Scheiber-Jaeger. And Stephen R. Zeidenberg.
Thank you, Rabbi Nevins and Cantor Abramson. Candidates for the degree of Master of Sacred Music. You've completed the prescribed course of instruction and have fulfilled the research and other requirements of the H.L. Miller Cantorial School and College of Jewish Music. In recognition of these accomplishments, and acting upon the recommendation of the faculty and on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I confer upon you the degree of Master of Sacred Music, which you have earned in course, and welcome you to the community of scholars. I now would like to recognize your investiture as chazanim this afternoon. May you be blessed with the words from our High Holiday Liturgy. Be'or panecha yehalechun, berach lecha yichreun, amcha b'fihem yivarchun, miverchot picha, kulam yitbarechun. May they walk in the light of your spirit, and by their blessings, may we all be blessed. Mazal tov.
Mr. Chancellor, at a ceremony this afternoon, the Rabbinical School will ordain 16 awesome graduates as rabbis. Several of these students were awarded a Master of Arts degree earlier in these commencement exercises from either the Davidson School or the Gershon Kekst Graduate School, or earned one previously. I now have the privilege to present to you those students among those being ordained this afternoon who have successfully completed the requirements, either for the degree of Master of Arts or Master of Sacred Music in the Rabbinical School. I invite the candidates to rise and come forward to the platform as I call their names and ask that they remain standing when they return to their seats. Emily Kenny Barton. Michael Rocco Bueno. Jason Michael Kirschner and Ruti Reagan.
Thank you, Rabbi Nevins. Candidates for the degree of Master of Arts or Master of Sacred Music, you have completed the prescribed course of instruction and have fulfilled the research and other requirements of the Rabbinical School. In recognition of these accomplishments, And acting upon the recommendation of the faculty and on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I confer upon you the degree of Master of Arts or Master of Sacred Music as reflected in the commencement program which you have earned in course, and welcome you to the community of scholars. I now invite all rabbinical school graduates who will be ordained this afternoon as rabbis to please stand. May each of you be blessed with the Talmudic blessing conferred by Rabbi Ami on his students when they departed from the academy. Siftotecha yabiu dat, v'chilyotecha ta'lozna mesharim, ufamecha yarutzu, nishmoa divrei atik yomim. Let your lips communicate knowledge. May you rejoice in the right with all your heart, and may you always run to the commands of God. Mazal tov.
Now I have the pleasure of calling upon Dr. Stephanie N. Halpern, who has just received her PhD from the Gershon Kekst Graduate School earlier in this ceremony, to speak on behalf of the graduates of JTS's 4 professional and graduate schools.
Chancellor Eisen, Chairman of the Board Levine, Provost Cooper, distinguished honorees, Dean Schwartz, faculty, fellow graduates, family, and friends. The night before my dissertation defense, I took the elevator to the top floor of Kripke Tower and stood for some time looking out its windows. Over the past 14 years, I have found myself very often in this same position. It is the place I have always gone to take a break from studying, to gather my thoughts, to spend a moment of solitude in one of the few truly tranquil spots in the city. From the top of the tower, I have ushered in each new semester, have seen the snow-covered courtyard thaw each winter and bloom with life each spring, have myself grown from a List College undergraduate to a PhD. That night, from my point high above, I contemplated my position in an institution I have been a part of for almost half my life. Knowing it would be the last time I visited the top of the tower as a student, I took in the scene with a fresh perspective. Looking out onto the construction site that once was the courtyard where I shared meals and conversations with faculty and friends, the library where I spent countless hours poring over foundational texts, and the classrooms where my intellect was shaped by rigorous lessons, innovative lectures, and heated debates, I realized that the place that has at times felt more like home than any place I have ever lived in the city does not exist any longer. My identity as a student, as a teacher, and as a Jew is inextricably bound with the academic training, mentoring, and support I received first in List College and then in the graduate school. Though I was saddened by the knowledge that the physical structure had changed around me, I realized the things that initially drew me to JTS are unwavering and form the very cornerstone upon which the seminary is built. Today, as I move into the next phase of my life as a scholar of Jewish studies, I take these things with me: a commitment to research and learning, to intellectualism and spirituality in equal measure, to preserving the past and influencing the future. Thank you, and mazel tov to all the graduates.
Thank you, Dr. Hauptman. Congratulations to you. At this time, I want to thank Chancellor Eisen, Dr. Cooper, for conferring the degrees in course, and I offer my own personal congratulations and congratulations from the Board of Trustees to each and every one of the graduates. Now, the chorus of the H.L. Miller Cantorial School will lead us in a Don Olam, which is printed in the back of the program. thank you, Chazan Natasha Hirschhorn, for leading us, and Adon Olam. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain in your seats until the entire recessional has been completed. And now, on behalf of Chancellor Eisen, the faculty, the administration, and the Board of Trustees, I thank you once again for joining us, sharing this exciting and meaningful day, and I declare these 123rd commencement exercises of the Jewish Theological Seminary to be concluded.